Every single day, we all make a pretty simple choice. What are we going to drink? It feels like no big deal, right? But what if that choice is kind of quietly shaping your health for years to come? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden risks inside some of the most popular drinks out there. And honestly, the science might just change what you decide to put in your cup. Just think about it. When you walk down the beverage aisle, it's this whole universe of options. You've got brightly colored sodas, all kinds of fruit drinks, those zero-calorie alternatives, and of course the cans promising a massive jolt of energy. They're all fighting for your attention, promising to be refreshing or tasty, or just the thing you need to get through the day. And that really brings us to the big question we're tackling in this explainer. If you look past the calories, past the caffeine, could your daily drink choice actually be setting you up for a stroke down the line? Well, the data is pointing to a pretty sobering answer. Yeah, it could. So let's start with the one we all know, the usual suspect. Sugar-sweetened beverages, or SSBs for short. For years, we've heard they're linked to weight gain, but their impact on our cardiovascular system, and especially our brain, is way more direct and frankly, more dangerous than a lot of us realize. Okay, let's just take a second and break these numbers down, because they're pretty wild. That Interstroke study, it's a massive global study, and what it found is, frankly, alarming. An odds ratio of 2.39 for stroke. So what does that actually mean? It means people drinking these sugary drinks were nearly 2.5 times more likely to have a stroke. But it doesn't stop there. All that sugar can lead to inflammation and insulin resistance, which helps explain why you see a big jump in risk for high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes. And look at that last line. It adds up. Every single daily serving increases your overall risk of dying from any cause by about 8%. That's huge. So this leads to the next logical thought that millions of people have. Okay, if sugar is the bad guy, then the diet or the zero sugar version has to be the hero, right? It feels like such a simple, smart swap to make for your health. But as it turns out, the evidence tells a much more complicated story. And this brings us to what researchers are calling the diet drink paradox. We've all been told that artificially sweetened drinks are the safe alternative, but there's this growing mountain of evidence that suggests they actually carry their own set of pretty significant risks for your heart and brain. Just think about how these drinks are marketed to us. For decades, they've been sold as the smart, responsible choice. You get all the flavor you want, but without the calories, without the sugar. It makes them seem like the perfect tool for managing weight and just being healthy in general. But here's where the marketing completely disconnects from the science. A huge review of studies found that regularly drinking these diet drinks is linked to a 10% higher risk of death from any cause, a 14% higher risk of high blood pressure, and a 9% increased risk of stroke. The main takeaway here is crystal clear. Zero sugar does not mean zero risk, not even close. And when you put the two side by side, wow, the picture is just startling. The risk profiles, they're almost identical. And get this, for high blood pressure, the risk is actually a little higher with the diet drinks. The science is telling us this isn't about picking a good guy versus a bad guy. Both types of sweetened drinks are tied to really dangerous outcomes for our health. Okay, so now we're gonna pivot a little bit. Everything we've talked about so far are these chronic risks, right? The kind of damage that builds up over years. But some drinks pose an immediate threat to your heart. We're talking about things that can trigger a dangerous event in just a matter of hours. All right, let's start with energy drinks. A big review of the research found that in more than half of all studies, these drinks caused an immediate spike in systolic blood pressure. That's the top number, and it represents a sudden, powerful stress on your heart and all your arteries. And the effect is even stronger when you look at diastolic pressure. That's the bottom number, the pressure when your heart is supposed to be resting. With over 61% of studies showing a jump, it means these drinks don't just spike your pressure, they keep your whole system from properly relaxing. It's just under constant strain. And this might be the most dangerous finding of all. Nearly 2/3 of studies found that energy drinks prolong something called the QTC interval. So you can think of this as the time it takes your heart's electrical system to recharge between beats. When that recharge time gets too long, it can lead to really chaotic, unstable heart rhythms, which can absolutely be life-threatening. Next up is alcohol, and it has its own unique, acute danger called holiday heart syndrome. The name is kind of catchy, right? It's because doctors noticed a huge spike in cases around the holidays. But make no mistake, this is a year-round problem. It's a very specific thing where binge drinking can directly trigger an episode of atrial fibrillation, or AFib.
You see, alcohol really attacks the heart from a bunch of different angles. It can directly trigger that erratic rhythm of AFib, which is so dangerous because it lets blood pool and form clots in the heart, a direct line to a stroke. It also jacks up your blood pressure and can weaken the heart muscle itself. And on top of all that, it flushes out vital electrolytes like potassium and magnesium, which are the very minerals your heart needs to keep a steady, stable rhythm.
Okay, so after running through all of those pretty serious risks, it's time to talk about the good news. And the good news is that what you choose to drink is what one clinical review called a powerful, modifiable lever for your health. In other words, you have the power to make a better choice, starting right now. This chart here, it's basically the roadmap. It's based on recommendations from top health groups like the American Heart Association. And the foundation couldn't be simpler. Water is king. Unsweetened teas are great, giving you hydration and antioxidants. Low-fat milk is in there for key nutrients, but notice how even 100% fruit juice with its natural sugar should be limited. And then way down at the bottom, right where they belong, are the sodas and energy drinks. The advice? Minimize or just avoid them. So all this brings me to a question for you. Looking at this list and thinking about what you drink every day, what's your favorite healthy swap? Are you a fan of sparkling water with a squeeze of lime? Maybe a nice cup of green tea? Let's get some ideas flowing. Drop your go-to healthy drink in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you all come up with. I really want to come back to this quote because it just perfectly sums up why this all matters so much. This one single daily choice, when you multiply it across millions of people, becomes one of the most powerful tools we have to improve health and fight back against heart disease and stroke. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. Every single day, your hand is on that lever. The only question is, are you pulling it in the right direction for your own health? If this explainer gave you something to think about, maybe made you look at your cup a little differently, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into the science behind your health. Thanks for watching.